Yesterday, a Jefferson County, Kentucky grand jury indicted only one of the three officers who were involved in the killing of 26-year-old Breonna Taylor, who was, of course, killed by police in her apartment. To the surprise of some, no homicide charges were ultimately filed. Now, in response to those charges or lack thereof, protests erupted across the nation, and two officers were shot during demonstrations in Louisville, Kentucky. So as those protests unfolded, we also received an announcement that a police reform expert is going to review the case of Jacob Blake, a black man who was shot by police in Kenosha, Wisconsin a month ago. The Blake family also immediately issued a statement on the Breonna Taylor grand jury decision that read in part, "The announced charges of wanton endangerment against one officer in the Breonna Taylor case is another tragic example of two systems of justice. The meaning of these charges allows police in the state of Kentucky to aim their weapons and fire at people of color in their own apartments without cause and without remedy. There is no recognition of the humanity of the families of color involved and few consequences for those with the responsibility of protecting communities of color for these lives." Joining me now is Jacob Blake Sr., father of Jacob Blake. We're so glad to have you this morning, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
First, just give people an update. How is your son doing, and what is the status of his case?
He's still in a rough place right now, but he's striving to get some semblance of normalcy. He's doing much better than he was, but there's still things that happen that he has to go through, and this is what he's doing.
Yeah. What has this been like for you and your family to not only be dealing with, an incredibly traumatic injury and shooting of your son, but also to now be in a national spotlight and really be trying to use that platform to make change? Tell us a little bit about what that experience has been like.
Well, it's been, number one, an emotional roller coaster. And number two, once I make up my mind to do something, and anyone that knows me will tell you, once we've made up our mind that this is what we're going to do, that we're going to strive and march towards getting these laws changed so that young people don't have to fear every time they encounter the police. It's true. And that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. I read part of your statement from you and your family about the lack of charges filed in the Breonna Taylor case. What is your reaction?
It's a young lady's life was lost. A young person, a human being's life was lost because of the inadequacies of the police. So if they're not responsible, then who?
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right. Are you hopeful by the fact that there has been such an outpouring, explosion in this protest movement across the country? People have never been particularly politically activated before, coming out into the streets demanding change, and yet you still see a lot of politicians and leaders very resistant to actually making any substantive changes to the law. How do you think about that?
Well, once you understand that the system that was put in place is broken, the apprehension of those who stand behind that system, because what it takes to redo and rework the dysfunction of the system, the amount of work that it takes, not everyone is ready for that. Not everyone. Resistance is going to happen because they do not want to work that hard. But we know that there are two systems of justice because we're in the system that does not work too well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you see it certainly, in all of these instances, but with Breonna Taylor, she's killed in this, low-level drug bust. Meanwhile, there are drug cartels moving millions through financial networks, through the largest banks in the world with zero penalty. So absolutely part of that two systems of justice that you're talking about. What would success look like to you? What are the specific laws that you like to see change? What is the movement that you would like to see continue? What does the future look like, and what do you hope that it looks like?
Success is for me and you to walk down the street together, understanding that we have no fear of being pulled over, understanding that we will be treated as human beings, as humanity. Humanity is being mistreated. So it's not just brown people, it's all people. But until we look at it like it's all people and not just some people, then it won't be everybody.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. Jacob Blake Sr., thank you so much for your time this morning. We're extraordinarily grateful for it.
Hey, thank you so much.
Our pleasure, and we're thinking about you and your family. All right, we'll have more Rising for you after this.